Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for our Friday highlight video, which is going to be the Tier 7 Japanese destroyer, the Akatsuki. Apologies that I am not able to get the defense out this weekend. It will be pushed back to next weekend due to lack of time, and wanting to get my head more around that ship, and I don't think it's really worth the 415,000 coal. It should be less, but regardless, we're here for Akatsuki. So let me get into this Tier 7 Japanese torpedo destroyer boat. I just have a front little clip here just for fun, and then the main event will happen after this. One of the big things with Akatsuki, you know, when you step up from the Fubuki, the ships handle pretty similar. The torps, little bit differences going on. We get 9 torpedoes with a very fast reload time. You can see we're about, what is it, 1 minute and 10 seconds. And this playstyle of Akatsuki is typically because of having the 6 guns. You normally want to be kind of more in this kite-out posture. You don't like to be caught bow in to enemy destroyers that can more easily have your way. And imagine being in San Diego, you're spotted, you've got a hydroacoustic search, but there's an island that's right over there that's safe to use. And yeah, Dev Strike First Blood. And the main game that I have coming in here in the Land of Fire is a bottom tier game. You know, honestly, you know, you're probably going to be being at bottom tier, you're going to see more tier 8s, tier 9s more consistently these days, at least on NA server. And this line, in playing it, you know, from tier 5 Mitsuki up through Shimakaze, is probably one of my most played lines as a whole in the game, because I use this line. I don't like resetting the Harugumo line for research bureau points, even though it's a little cheaper to go through the Harugumo line. I like doing the Shimakaze line because it's a more passive torpedo playstyle. You know, so again, islands, people tend to really go for islands. It's island syndrome, if you will. So before even knowing that there's another Akatsuki out here on this flank, I decide, hey, I'm just going to drop torps off here in case there is someone trying to dive the island. So let's see what ends up happening here, as these 6 guns as a whole are really good. We'll talk about them. This isn't a gunboat destroyer, it is definitely a torpedo boat destroyer. When you get to utilize these 127mm guns, it's really all about the torps. So be expecting dev strikes and first bloods, perhaps with this ship, if you get that early positioning. And what's vital, like let's say as an example with the Akatsuki, it's this destroyer that can push out deadly torpedoes. These are 610mm torpedoes that deal 16,000 damage. So it's about getting your torps off, but it's also about spotting. You know, so here I'm communicating with the Neptune, like if he wants to smoke up, hey, I'll keep spotting this Prince Heinrich that's pushing in here. And that's really, you're going to see kind of this tandem of me focusing on the spotting and focusing on trying to get torpedoes off when we're able to. So what is great about this particular torpedo line, destroyer torpedo line, you know, it's not just, again, not just the torps, it's the spotting, and that's going to come through huge in this game for us, like massive rewards. And I'm driving this point home because I see a lot of torpedo destroyer players in the game anymore who play quite selfishly. They smoke themselves up, they won't spot for their teammates, and we're not going to have a ton of damage this game, I don't believe, because we recognize the value of this pretty strong team play, of course, when it comes to spotting right. And we're going to try to utilize that to the best extent possible. Now, concealment, that the best you can get on this line at tier 7 is 6.4. So, you know, you're going to be running into, let's say, tier 8 destroyers or even tier 9 destroyers. I mean, there's even tier 7 destroyers, but let's pick on 8. You know, like, if I run into a HMS Kosik with an Akatsuki, I'm like, this isn't good. Or, you know, if you run into an Akatsuki, not good. I mean, there's several destroyer matchups that just don't work out good for you at all. You know, here you can actually see me being cheeky and trying to use the armor piercing on the San Diego. Normally you're just going to be firing the high explosive because it's good IG and high explosive here. But the concealment is just not great, which is another reason why, you know, when you are starting off the engagement and you're hunting out the enemy destroyer, typically you kind of want to push in and then have a kite out posture and let the enemy destroyer make the first move on you, and then play accordingly, right? And you saw again in this battle, as in the first, we go out and we secure the 1-2 line first. Particularly like even with Land of Fire, I mean most maps are this way, but it's really true with Land of Fire. On this flank, if you can take quick control of the 1-2 line, you can easily collapse this flank and then push in, because usually things, usually on the 1-3 line, this flank, things get decided much earlier on in the game. Well, things get bogged down on the 7, 8, 9, 10 line because there's so many islands and people are like island camping in that. So particularly whichever team can successfully push through the 1-3 line first is usually the team that will end up winning this map, winning this battle. So let's kind of go more through the other characteristics of Akatsuki. So we have 6 127mm guns. It's definitely a step up than Fubuki, having only 4. I believe also 127mm guns. You have 2 of the turrets are located on the rear, just like Shimakaze. So, you know, ideally you want to be already kind of turned out if you have an enemy destroyer pushing you. Otherwise, it can be quite painful to try to disengage, and you have to show a lot of the side of your ship just to get your main battery in line. Your 6-4 conceal makes it difficult to be competitive against other destroyers in the game, particularly against other destroyers that have better concealment at tier 8, tier 9. Your torpedoes are quite massive in terms of, like I said, they deliver 16,000 damage. You can boost them up over, I think, 63, 64 knots. Maybe it's a little more. We'll look at that in the upgrade commander build video tomorrow. And then you have, you know, your depth charges to help you out. You have okay-ish AA. I don't remember how great the AA is. I know it's not fantastic or it's great. It's just me. I think it's like a 5-kilometer range on the AA guns. One of the big step ups you get from Fubuki to Akatsuki is your top ship speed. I mean, you can see without engine boost, we're already pushing over 38 knots, and that's just because of having zero mic flag. So we can go over 40 knots with Akatsuki, which is a big step over. Fubuki can feel a little bit more clunky, but the handling of Fubuki is not so different than Akatsuki. It's just the speed will kind of end up making these ships feel different. And I feel that the Akatsuki has a slightly slimmer profile than Fubuki as well. But their turning circle radius and other things are quite similar here. Now, to pick on the torps a little bit more here, these torpedoes only have a range of 10 kilometers. So when you do find yourself in higher tier matchmaking, it kind of sucks. Tier 8, tier 9, when you're getting more into like the 10-kilometer radars, the 12-kilometer radars. So that will put you at a disadvantage. You know, here, this battle, you know, 2 of the cruisers are gone really fast. We opened up this flank so fast that basically we have the IJN torpedo destroyer line dream, and that is to get into the backfield and start torpedoing the battleships. That's where you really begin to hopefully farm damage. But a lot of these guys are still running. They're not really responding to the pressure we're putting on the cap here. So I am going to step on the cap here and in the hope to trigger them to come back to deal with them. You know, so here's a Neptune, you know, and there's in the far distance as well as Alaska in the far distance. Both of those ships have 10-kilometer radar if the Neptune is actually running a radar. You know, normally a Neptune you should be running smoke, you know, Minotaur, you can go either way. But to step on the cap and then put pressure on enemy team to try to come back and defend. Now, our spotting damage, if I can see on my screen correctly, yeah, we just went over 70,000 damage here. So I'm not really worried about smoking up and trying to farm my own guns. You know, I really want the enemy team to not know where I am. That's one of the big ace up the sleeves of the IJN torpedo line destroyers. Like, you know, they know I'm on the cap, but they don't know where. So I don't really want to telegraph by dropping a smoke, you know, start dumping depth charges, start firing my guns, right? There's power in the concealment of the IJN torpedo line. So besides depth charges, you know, you have your normal damage control party, you have smokes, and you have an engine boost. You don't get any type of torpedo reload booster. I don't think the Akatsuki really needs it. I think the Shiratsuyu does, because that's kind of an odd destroyer that's actually in the gunboat line. But you don't really need a torpedo reload booster. I think time, amazingly, has been kind to Akatsuki to an extent. I think the thing that hurts the Akatsuki most in 2025 is probably the competitiveness of other destroyers that have a better conceal and that can dish out a lot more DPM if you get caught with your pants down. I'll phrase it that way. Okay, I think that's really where Akatsuki struggles. So that's usually, you know, the big thing that unlocks the IGN Torpedo line is if your team's able to knock out the other enemy destroyers that are on your flank and kind of give you more access to push in. Or you saw we initially push in and we kite out. We're ready to run. We're ready to flee with our guns firing. If a destroyer pushes into us, that we're not able, it's not a fair matchup. You want to create an unfair matchup with enemy destroyers that would overextend themselves, push into you and your team, maybe get lucky with the torps like we did on the enemy Akatsuki, but we're trying to think ahead where a destroyer player might like to go. Oh, islands are magnets for players, right? So let's just throw some torps off because we only have over a minute, 10 plus second reload time. So that's kind of the benefit of these torps reloading so fast. So I think time overall has been kind to Akatsuki. You just ideally don't want to be picking gun engagements with other enemy destroyers unless there's maybe a decently matched up with your DPM or you're stomping on a tier 6 or tier 5 destroyer, right? So we just got Combat Scout because we were at 144,000 spotting damage. I'm dropping some smoke here because the enemy team is, you can see, they're all responding in mass to push back to the cap. I'm kind of asking Veneto if he would consider staying dark. So I'm dropping the smoke for him. The Neptune has stepped out further onto the J line to get shots onto the enemy team. So I mean, we can, you know, easily end up winning here, but you know, I'm also trying to provide some insurance, some security for the team because, you know, I've watched too many games of throws in my 6 years of playing the game. I think I actually am now 6 years into the game. So we do land 2 torps on the King George. In the meantime, we've lost a Flint, we've lost a Pommern. We're only almost just about double the points ahead. We lose the Neptune. So you can see how the situation is shifting quite fast here. Well, I'm going to step back towards the edge of the cap here. You know, we have 2 players who are really low in health. The Christopher is low. And then we also have another guy here on my left. I keep glancing at him. He's also really low. So I think the enemy team has more health points on the board. So I'm not running that mod, you know, so yeah, Scharnhorst there. Not running the mod to like see exactly. But you can see a lot of players are about to die in terms of the hit point values here, what's happening here on the game. So the reaction though of Veneto continuing to push through rather than to stay dark in the smoke, as an example, is that he's forced the other battleship off the cap. Or I think, well, King George died, and then the other battleship you can see is running away again. But then we have this Izumo who's pushing now onto the cap with little hit points because, you know, 22 seconds away from the win. And Veneto gets him, so we give him a well done, or a thank you. And that eliminates him. And there's still another enemy destroyer that's not even reacting and coming back to the cap. You know, I'm pointing out to them like, dude, like, where is this destroyer at? He should be coming in, and he's not. So we're going to keep stacking up all the points on us as our Iowa and Christopher are quite low. And there's another guy way back there up on D10. Not sure what he's up to. So as long as I keep shooting Veneto, I'll make taking the cap a little longer here. But it's finally going to stack up. And we're going to get the cap here now. And land with over 157,000 spotting damage. So the Veneto actually lived. I'm kind of surprised. I thought he would end up going down. But pretty clutch there. So this was like a beautiful... I've had multiple games similar to this with Akatsuki before. Like I said, it's my most played line overall in resetting for Research Pro points. So we get an Expert badge in terms of the efficiency. We get the Dove Strike with the First Blood. In addition to the Combat Scouts, not so much damage, only 52,000. So, I mean, with all these things, like, how do you feel perhaps we ended up landing after even a solo cap? We got top of the team. We got 2,217 Base XP, Veneto came in just under 1500. I did compliment the Veneto because he played really well there and he did what needed to be done to help us secure the cap. So there's some really good play there. Good team play with the Neptune. A little bit with the Scharnhorst as well, though he kind of threw away hit points there, YOLOing the San Diego at the start. And, you know, yeah, we didn't do much damage there, and our potential damage was super low as well because we weren't really spotted at all the whole game. But then you can see, oh, yeah, that spotting damage really ends up stacking up this game as a whole. And then here's credits and XP, and I think I was probably just running maybe some green economic boosters as a whole here. So tomorrow I'll do an upgrade commander build video on the Akatsuki. I've done one on Fubuki in the past, but this was something I just really like this line, and I haven't done a video forever on Akatsuki. And I still quite enjoy more this passive torpedo destroyer play style in the game. You know, I think the only disadvantage is really for Akatsuki now in 2025 is just there's other more competitive tier 8 or tier 7, tier 8, tier 9 destroyers that can demolish you quite quickly if you're not careful. And you just have to be more mindful. There's more radar than ever in the game, right? You have more planes, whether we're talking like with hybrid ships. So the spotting, being able to stay dark is harder and harder for these kind of destroyers because they end up accidentally getting spotted by all the ships that fly, or not ships, planes that fly the game now. And then submarines, right? You didn't see a submarine matchup here as well. And so that also has to be something you need to be mindful with Akatsuki, as I didn't really touch on that. So a really dream game with Akatsuki here. But it's a really comfortable line if you like playing torpedo destroyers. So again, tomorrow, do upgrade commander build video. We will aim to do the defense next weekend. That is my goal. I need some more games on defense. I don't have enough games to play. I'm confident to give you a more in-depth look at the ship. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. And till next time, take care.